That's awesome. I'm sorry. I still think it's awesome. I don't really like the way I look, but with the mask, yeah. And then this thing, rah rah rah. Yeah. Okay, I get it. Whatever. But I don't like showing my face because I'm ugly. Seriously, I could go on about how ugly I am. It's not really to put myself down, just sort of, you know, I got enough anecdotal evidence to back me up. It's just like, okay, anyway. Hi, I'm Michael John Weber. I'm here again today. You don't usually put me on camera because I don't like it. It's not important what I look like. But there you go. Because I'm a writer, I'm talking about writing things and how you can avoid writer's block and how you can finish your novel. I don't care who you are. A lot of people struggle with it, it seems to me, and I want to try to help that, really. And now I'm just babbling. Point being, what I look like is not important to writing. Anyway, here I am again. This is my tiny home. I don't know if I've said that before or not. It's my cute little fireplace. Yeah, I live on an artist colony on Vancouver Island, and I'm a super hippie writer. So, I think I said last time, or maybe not, and I don't really get a lot of feedback, comments, fan mail, reviews for my work. The ones I do get are positive, very much so, in some cases, very much so, and very seldomly negative. In fact, I don't think I've got a negative comment yet. But really, I'm not a comment guy. I don't go on the internet. I don't sit. I go on the internet like once a month for an hour, and that's it. So, I don't really keep up with the social network thing because, quite honestly, I'm just too busy writing, and I don't care really. But my point is, I do care about the feedback I get, as little as it is, and some of it's awesome, and I'm just trying to address that now here. So anyway. Somebody asked me, people in real life mostly ask, but a few on the internet have pinged me up, I guess, with the question, how many words do you write a day? Or how many pages do you write a day? And I kind of don't like that question, but it's not like a big deal. That's just me being crazy fucking Michael, right? Because I'm kind of a weird artist and not a normal artist. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm kind of a statistical outlier, it would seem, on how I go about doing art. And again, the way I live my life is kind of outside the box, so you can imagine. Okay, so why don't I like add that? I just don't like measuring, and it's not that competition thing. But I notice people do that too. I write 10,000 words a day. I'm awesome, and it doesn't mean anything to me. All that matters is you finish the story, really. I don't care how long it takes. I don't think anybody cares how long it takes. They just want to read stories, or conversely, you want to write stories. But, so, and then, what's to say how much is enough? Again, people get that. Well, you should write a minimum of 1,000 words a day, etc., etc. They set up rules like that for themselves. Hell, I've even seen websites that actually track your words per minute, per hour, whatever, and give you like little achievement awards based on those accomplishments, and actually give you like a bar graph sitting at the top of the screen, which put it at the top right there, and it goes and it progresses all the way up to 100%, and then you're done, and it shows you visually how much left you have of your novel to write. And I will absolutely admit some minds need that works for them. They get the energy from it to fill that meter, or to get the 100%, or to get the little achievements to accomplish those daily goals of writing 1,000 words or else, sort of thing. Idiots like me, I don't do that. It's sort of like the difference between musicians who are very meticulous in writing down the music, like Beethoven, Mozart, etc. You know, that very mathematical, almost scientific, almost control over the flow of a musical composition. And then on the other hand, you have something like jazz, where you just ad-lib, you willy-nilly, you just go where your where it takes you, that kind of thing. And there's those sort of almost two schools of thought of how art should be done. Some people dance according to a very set pattern, the waltz, the this, the that, and they do that, and that's dancing. And some people get on the dance floor and they just go willy-nilly, and they try to translate the music with their bodies in some fucking way. Some people wiggle, some people sway, some people twirl, some people bounce, right? And they don't follow a preset dance pattern. So we got these two sort of, I don't know if they're competing, schools of thought on art, on should it have rules and metrics, should it be measured, should it be planned, or should it be free form and willy-nilly, right? And it's almost like Alan Watts's lecture on prickles and goo, which the guys from South Park very, very awesomely animated. I hope it's still on YouTube. Go look for that. Alan Watts, Prickles and Goo. And it explains essentially this stereotype. Some people are prickly, and they like rules and math, and they talk with clipped voices, and things have to be precise and exact. And then there are gooey people who are just kind of bleh. and that's the jazz people, the you know, the romantics, the dreamers, the idealists. And over on the other prickly side, you have rationalists and classicists, etc., etc. So, what does that have to do with how many fucking words you write a day? I just don't measure it. I don't give myself a goal. Some days it's 0. Absolutely 0. And some days it's like 10,000. You believe this or not, and I'm noticing this pattern after the fact, not beforehand, but I notice, like I'll go say hi to a friend down the street here, and she'll be like, oh, how's writing going? And I'll be like, oh shit, I've done like 70 pages in the last 3 days. And she'll go, yeah, well, it's been a full moon, so that makes sense. Now, whether or not you believe in full moon bullshit over art and people and life and mystic crap, that's none of my business, but it does seem to be a pattern. Full moon, I'll crank out 50, 80 pages in 3 days. And then other days, I don't write anything, absolutely. And I don't feel bad, and this is the point why I don't do this. I believe if I say, I'm going to write 1,000 words every day, come hell or high water, right? Make it a rule. Got to stick to it. Pull up your socks, that. If I do that, what happens if I don't write 1,000 words today? Okay, maybe I can let it slide. Maybe I forgive myself. Oh, maybe I had something to do and that explains it away, etc., etc., etc. But won't eventually I start feeling bad about it? Won't putting it off become a habit? Coming up with excuses, right? Or, you know, if I write 0 today, again, won't I feel guilty about it? Won't I be down on myself? Fuck, Michael, you promised you would write 1,000 words, New Year's Eve promise, or whatever bullshit. And you didn't write 1,000 words today. And what if that happens tomorrow? And maybe that's why a lot of novels don't get finished. Where if you just said, I'm just going to write a novel, and try to do 1 word a day or more. That's a manageable goal. Maybe it's not setting the bar very high, but it's not a race. They don't give awards for finishing novels quickly. Not at all. In fact, you see when they finish movies and video games too quickly, how buggy they are, how flawed they are, it's how not good they are. Do you know what I mean? So there's something to be said for taking time. But at the same time, if you're maybe you need to metric yourself and measure it. Give yourself micro goals and achieve them. That makes sense. It does. Finishing a novel is one idea. That's a pretty big task, isn't it? But finishing 1 word every day, that's manageable. You know what I mean? I could do that. But that's not how I do it. Honestly, how I do it is, at the bottom of the screen, when you're typing on your word processor, at the bottom of the screen gives you the page count. Tells you the page you're on and how many pages are in the document. I try to increase how many pages are in the document by 1 every day. Now, that doesn't mean write a whole page, because if I'm already on a page that's almost full of words, I only got to write a sentence to click that page count up by 1, then I'm satisfied. But it's just, the point is, as long as progress is being made, as long as you're going forward in some way every day to some degree. Because you know what? Some days you're not going to want to write. You're just going to want to sit on your couch in your underwear, eat Cheetos, and watch fucking Sharknado over and over again, right? Because you got to give yourself a day off sometimes. And if you say, I'm going to write this much every day, and you give yourself a day off, you might get down on yourself. That might discourage you. And that's what. And then I don't like to compete. Like somebody came out to me and said, how many words a day do you write? And I said, geez, 0 to 10,000, so it averages to $5,000 a day. And he said, well, there's this guy on the internet that writes 7,000 a day. And I was like, and? I'm like, well, you could do more is the idea. And I said, yeah, well, but while that guy is putting videos on YouTube about how awesome he is, I'm busy writing. I guess I'm sitting here right now putting videos on YouTube about how awesome I am. But I'm not writing right now, I guess. Yeah, so maybe I should shut my mouth, take my own advice. Yeah, maybe that's fair too. But it's not a competition. Again, nobody cares how fast you write these things. They're not going to pat you on the head anymore because you did 80,000 words in one day. Nobody gives a shit, right? Only you, and somehow if that makes you special, then cool. But it's not a big deal. Don't get so worked up about it. Because, again, you can really discourage yourself by not achieving these little meaningless goals, really. Again, it's hard to say. But, so me babbling for a million minutes on the subject of word count. I mean, I don't even check the word count of my novels until I'm about 90% done. That's kind of how I tell. I'm like, okay, I've got about 250 pages written. I should be getting close now. Let's see how close I am. And then I'll go and check the word count. But I don't check the word count every hour or every day or every week. It sounds kind of neurotic to me. Oh, how good am I doing? Maybe, again, other people find that useful, but no. And what I mean by that is, what I say is, when I'm about 250 pages, then I'll check the word count to see how close I am. What I mean by that is there's this sort of unwritten rule or theory that your average pocketbook novel is about 300 pages or about 100,000 words. Yes, the numbers can fluctuate, but the idea being if you can't tell a story in 100,000 words, you're in some way doing something wrong. Now, I don't agree with that at all, because some stories are long and take more words. It's just the way it is. Sometimes the vision is big. But just for a consumer point of view, to sell a dime store novel that people can read on a wet Sunday afternoon, it should be 100,000 words long, maybe, or less. And hopefully not longer. Most of mine are longer, right? And then look at fucking Robert Jordan Wheel of Time series. You're going to tell me that's short? Look at, what's his face? George R.R. Martin. He's got, one book is 700,000 words or something like that. It's ridiculous, So different stories need more or less, that sort of thing, right? So I kind of shoot for that 100,000 word benchmark with every novel I write. It's not a rule, it's a guideline. We'll call it that, right? So when I'm at about that 250 page mark, where I can sort of feel out, okay, I can feel I'm coming close to the end, I'm wrapping up a lot of stuff, tying up loose ends, how much more do I have to go? It's not literal, like I check the word count and it says 90,000 and I'm like, okay, now I need 10,000 more words, and I go and I make those up. That's not it at all. I just write however many words it still takes. But now I know, okay, I'm in the ballpark of 90,000. That means I'm coming close to the end. But I'm not sure. Maybe I should. Not maybe I should, but I can feel it coming. So yes, and the 90,000 tells me, yeah, I'm sort of close to the end. Usually I go over to about 150,000. So I still got lots more story to write. But again, it's not, I don't check it for my ego, or I don't check it for competitive rights or bragging rights. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a guideline for, okay, is this story close? How much more do I think I have to tell? Did I explain everything well enough? Because 100,000 should cover it, plus 50 more because I'm a long-winded bastard, right? And it just gives me a bit of a guideline. But again, I'm one of these gooey people that doesn't play by the rules and dances to the beat of a different drum and all that nonsense. And I don't really think you can teach creativity or put rules to it and indeed structure it. Step 1 in creativity is this. Step 2 in creativity is, I don't think you can do that. Really what I am saying is it just doesn't work for my brain and my personality, and I'm sure other humans would disagree with my gooey way of doing things, and of course prefer the prickly way, to be honest. And as Alan Watts' lecture on prickles and goo suggests, reality and people aren't exclusively prickles, and they're not exclusively goo. We're prickly goo and gooey prickles, right? And so this is what I'm trying to get at when I say, yes, I measure the word count, the page count, but I don't take it super seriously. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. You got to go at it in keeping track of these numbers is the prickly side, and not taking it seriously and just flowing with it is the gooey side. Not making a big deal of the numbers, not making the numbers more important than the story, than the project, than the fun of the art itself. Because I think that's what the rules tend to do. Like when you're learning how to read sheet music, and at least for me, it was so super boring to do. It took a lot of the fun out of playing music. But if you just gave me an instrument, let me play it, that was a lot of fun. So, prickles and goo. But I guess the point then being the balance, which again I hope I am demonstrating by saying, yes, I count the words, I write about 5,000 a day. But I don't take it seriously. It doesn't hurt my feelings, doesn't make me feel better than anyone else. If you don't write 5,000, you're not worse a writer than I am. If you write more, you're not better. All of that meaning in the number 5,000 words a day, there is no meaning aside from I write 5,000 words a day. Hell, I wrote one novel in 2 months, and then another one took me 6. Most of them take 4 on average for me. Some people need a year. Some people need 10 years. I don't know. There's no rule for this. As long as you're just moving towards it every day. Every day. And I'll also say this, since I'm just babbling on the subject. On those days where I write 0, I don't feel bad about it. And don't beat myself up about it, because it's just a number. But also, what I try to do is something in that day that isn't writing, that still has to do with the project I'm writing. So I'll daydream about it. Or hell, I'll even go read it. Yeah, I got a couple hours I can just kill. Maybe I'll pick up a copy of the first book in the series and give it a read through. As if I was a reader, not as the writer of the work. I want to read the story. That actually, excuse me, wow. That actually helps with writer's block, because maybe I mentioned something in book 1 that I forgot about as a Michael. Wow. And now I can bring that idea back from book 1 and put it into book 10 or whatever. I've actually done this. It's sort of that setup payoff thing. I actually go read previous books I wrote, looking for all the setups that I forgot about, and then I start paying them off in the novel I'm working on. It actually works out pretty good. Oh, my cat wants in. Buddy, are you lost? Are you stuck outside? She's such a sad cat. Sorry. So, yeah, that's what I'll do is, even if I don't write something new in one day, I will still keep my mind in that world. I'll go brainstorm new ideas. I'll go daydream conversations for no reason. I'll go put on a movie that is of the same genre or style or some way similar to what I'm writing, just to get some fuel for the creative fire, get the juices going, get away from the project a bit, because sometimes if you write every day, all day, kind of like I do, sometimes it can get overwhelming. And you're just like, I want to go visit other people for a minute, you know? So I will literally go visit other people or watch a movie or TV show just to hang out with other characters, see what they're doing. And then also, that will give me ideas for what my characters will do. I mean, shit, on my vacation between novels right now, I've been rewatching Star Trek Voyager. And I mean, they got a ton of cool ideas in all those most of those Star Trek shows, we'll just say. But again, I'm watching Voyager, and I'm like, that's a cool idea, how this character and that character, I don't know, relate to each other. I wonder if that would work in my story with these two characters, because, you know, they're kind of like that. Maybe, what would their version of that Star Trek thing be? And so on and so on. So, again, to answer the question, Michael, where do you get your ideas from? They're fucking everywhere. They really are. You just have to be able to see them and then relate them to your own work, you know what I mean? And not just plagiarize them outright, you know, nobody likes that. Nobody wants to do that, really. You just sort of have to spin it through your own personality, and then it'll come out. So again, like today, literally today, I have written 0 words on my next book. Part of that is I am on vacation. But what does that mean? But second of all is like, okay, if I'm not going to write then today, I want to still do something writer-y. So I spent the morning doing some dishes, and I listened to, I guess you could call it an audio version of one of my novels. I did that for a couple hours. And now here I am, recording a couple videos on how to brag on the internet that you're a writer. And how to not get writer's block. How to avoid it. And finish your fucking novel. Right? So I'm still in the writer motif here today in my house. I'm not actually being productive towards my next novel. But at the same time, I'm discussing the novel. I've already read 5 chapters of the novel this morning. Or a previous novel this morning. And again, I'm discussing what it's like to think as a writer, especially when you're a crazy writer who lives in the woods like a hippie hermit and doesn't talk to anyone. Indeed, me babbling like this is probably the most social interaction I get in like a couple weeks, now that I think about it. But that's not a bad thing. It really isn't. So, back to talking about you then. It doesn't matter how many words you write, and if it is 0 on a day, then at least try, perhaps, to do something that is at least relevant to your project. Maybe go Google something you had a question about and call that research for the day. Or go watch a movie. If you're writing a vampire movie, go watch a vampire movie, and maybe you can find something. Hell, if you're writing a vampire movie, go watch a robot movie, and maybe you can find something, because you know you can always find ideas anywhere. It's kind of ridiculous, it really is. Hell, I'm surprised at some of the movies, how even a bad movie will give you at least one super cool idea that you can somehow bend to your own work or somehow apply. Do you know what I mean? So that's it, yeah. How many words a day do I write? 0 to 10,000. But I don't give a shit. But I try to do something related to writing and the story at least once a day. Either reading it, thinking about it, researching it, planning, developing something. Hell, even just talking out loud. I pace around and just say, okay, well, what if this character and that character were eating nachos in the park, and then a flaming toilet seat fell out of space and landed on a nearby Prius. And I just babble to myself, purposely, not nearly as randomly as that, but trying again just to say, well, what if this happens? Or maybe I could show this, or, you know, because I showed this in the last chapter, I guess I need to come up with this for the next chapter, and so on and so on. I'm always doing something. Usually I do all this thing while I'm doing dishes, chopping firewood, just cleaning the house. You know, it's a good, it's productive to clean, first of all. But then it allows sort of the back of your mind to chew away on all these writer ideas, writer block issues you might have, or, you know, just ideas you've seen or heard of from me or anybody else, and how you might apply them to your own work. Because again, when you're always thinking about it, then it becomes a habit in a way, where you just wake up and it's on your mind, and when you're falling asleep, it's on your mind. Your story, your characters, your plot. I get you got a life and you got other shit to do, really. But you want to finish a story, you have to kind of keep putting fuel on that fire. If you want to, you want to keep an old-timey train going, you got to keep shoveling coal into that fucking engine, right? And so the human mind, likewise, when it comes to creativity, sure, it's a self-generating process inside. It's almost, that my cup floweth over kind of nonsense. But at the same time, seeing other art, other movies, TV shows, other books, video games, a lot of great story ideas in video games. But again, all these activities are generally considered a waste of time. But when you're trying to tell stories, like movies, TV, and video games are doing, why wouldn't you go see how they do it, right? So I guess I should stop babbling. Yeah, $5,000 a day. Sometimes 0. Not a big deal. Just get it done. Don't worry about it. Okay, bye. Thanks for listening to me babble. Happy Halloween.